Sawadee very good evening and welcome to Thai PBS World Tonight. I'm Nabunag.
And I'm Hatay Tiranan. Good evening. And yesterday we told you about the hacking and exposure of 16 million patients in Thailand. And today we'll give you some more updates. In a recent cyber attack on medical facilities in Thailand, only just over 10,000 patients' records have been leaked from Phetchabun Hospital and not 16 million as the hackers have claimed. And the leaked data only contains the patient's names, the names of their doctors and appointment details, not medical details. This is according to the Ministry of Digital Economy and Society, or DES. Based on the investigation of Phetchabun Hospital's system from where information was hacked, the hospital has fixed the problem and cut internet access from outside, said DES Minister Shaiwuttana Kamanuson in a press conference today. The ministry also found that there wasn't any damage to the system used to process patients. The hospital system backs up data every 30 minutes as well.
And meanwhile, the director of the Phumi Ratchanakarin Kidney Institute Hospital filed a police complaint today after 40,000 of their patient records were hacked. He explained that on Monday, the hospital could not access the patient database and found the system had been blocked, while the hacker attempted to retrieve medical histories and dialysis information, possibly remotely. The next day, someone with a foreign accent called the hospital to negotiate, claiming that the hospital system had been compromised. This prompted the hospital to file a complaint with the police, which happened to be at the same time when the systems of the Public Health Ministry and other hospitals were being hacked. The hospital director admits that the hospital developed the information database itself, which may have left a loophole for hackers. At the same time, Phia Thai police said that they will seek more information as they do not have a clue as to the hackers or hackers' identity. And it looks like the Digital Ministry and the Public Health Ministry will have a lot of work to do with the cybersecurity and ensuring that there will be no more cases like these where confidential information is compromised by hackers.
Right. It's also noteworthy, you can add, that the Digital Ministry also admitted that hacking into the Thai authorities' website has happened actually many times before. Also because these agencies were not really prepared for information stealth. So being prepared and even hiring the right people like giant global corporations are doing are also the key.
Exactly. And as we said yesterday, vaccination in some school students will soon begin, which is expected to be by the end of this month. And Bangkok authorities will vaccinate children with any of the 7 specified underlying diseases with Pfizer. And from today onwards, the Julapon Royal Academy is also opening registrations for schools with students aged 10 to 18 with Sinopharm to be inoculated from September 20th onwards. And the Julapon Royal Academy, or the CRA, which is currently the country's only importer and administrator of Sinopharm vaccines, has announced plans to inoculate children under its Back to School campaign to help schools reopen for on-site classes sooner amid reports of online learning problems. Schools can apply for the vaccine for their students free of charge, where a total of 50,000 students will be accepted in preparation for the new school term. The inoculations are scheduled to begin on September 20th, which is also Thailand's National Youth Day. To be eligible for this inoculation campaign, students must be 10 to 18 years old and have never been vaccinated with a COVID-19 vaccine or have never been infected by the virus. And they should not have underlying non-communicable diseases as well. But those with underlying diseases must show their medical certificate proving their illness, and it must also state that they can be vaccinated as well, and they also must have permission from their parents. Most importantly, parents must be aware of the risk of the vaccine and that Sinopharm has only been approved for emergency use in Thailand, while the use in children under 18 is still under consideration. Applications are open from today through the website vaccine.cra.ac.th, where you have to click on the vaccine allocation for schools menu. Then the CRA will inform the head of school by email about how to register to find out the number of vaccines they will receive and how to submit the names of students who wish to be vaccinated. The vaccinations will take place at the CRA vaccination site on Dang Watana Road. And so far, almost 26 million people, or about 37% of the entire population, have received only their first vaccine jabs, while just over 50% have received 2 doses so far, and just over 607,000 people have received their 3rd booster shots.
And meanwhile, the Bangkok governor Aswin Kwanmung has confirmed that the Public Health Ministry allocated vaccines for Bangkok as the BMA wanted to inoculate all 1 million children living in the capital. However, they will be working out on the details on the inoculation plan later. So far, 95% of people in Bangkok have already received their first dose, which is expected that everyone will be fully vaccinated by this November. And at the same time, the Thai Ruam Jai campaign also announced changes to the inoculation scheduled for September 14 to 15, using the mix and match approach, as using Sinovac as their first dose and AstraZeneca as the second dose, in between 3 weeks gap instead of 12 after the first dose, in order to increase immunity levels. So for the people recently getting their first Sinovac vaccine, they will be getting their AstraZeneca vaccine as second jab soon. But people getting AstraZeneca as their first shot will have to wait a while, for about 3 months, for the second same vaccine.
Right. And with the inoculations for school students, it is really nice to see that authorities are taking this very seriously so that these students can go back to school.
Right. And this mix and match approach remains controversial, so be sure to share your opinions on this with us on the comment section below. Turning to a rather serious issue here, which is unresolved enforced disappearances and alleged impunity of the authorities. Today, the relatives of victims of enforced disappearance and a network of human rights organizations in Thailand rallied in front of Parliament to demand the speedy passage of a bill against torture and enforced disappearance in this parliamentary session, which will end on September 18th. The demonstrators held banners protesting against torture and enforced disappearance committed by state authorities against innocent Thai citizens. Poems were also read telling stories of alleged abuses and excesses by security officials against Muslim Malay people in the south. Among the demonstrators were the elder sister of Wanchalam Satsaksit, a political activist who went missing in June last year while living in exile in Cambodia, Suhaimin Lubasa, who's representing Muslim youths in the Deep South, and Tanat Tanakit Amnoy, who reportedly lost an eye in an anti-government street protest in Bangkok last month. There are 4 versions of the bills against torture and enforced disappearance pending deliberation in Parliament so far, so including one proposed by the Cabinet. The bills are expected to be combined together with the Cabinet's forming the core. Originally ranked 9 on the House meeting agenda, the bill has now been moved up to the 3rd place for speedier deliberation. And according to the Cabinet bill, a committee tasked with protecting and suppressing torture and enforced disappearance will be set up under the chairmanship of the Justice Minister. The committee members include Permanent Secretaries of Justice, Defense and Foreign Affairs, the National Police Chief, the Director General of the Department of Special Investigation, or DSI, the Attorney General, the President of the Law Council of Thailand, and the Secretary General of the Office of Judicial Affairs, plus 4 experts to be handpicked by the Justice Minister. And under the bill, offenders who commit torture or enforced disappearance will face up to life in prison and a fine from 300,000 to 1 million baht if a victim dies.
The director of Amnesty International Thailand, Pianut Khotsarn, said that the organization and Thai civil societies have been campaigning for such a law for more than a decade, but their calls have been ignored by successive governments as if they have no sincerity towards this issue, while at the same time, the same governments have been telling the world that they have been working on the law. In the meantime, she alleged that torture and enforced disappearances continue relentlessly, citing the recent case of a drug suspect who died under police interrogation in Nakhon Sawan's Mueang District Police Station. Pianut also said that it is about time for a law to be promulgated to protect people from torture and enforce disappearance, as she stressed that the Thai law must be brought in line with the international standard of human rights and laws, such as International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearance.
So the draft bills here have been stalled for some time, like for over a year. So this is definitely long overdue, and especially considering the recent case of police brutality of torturing their suspects to death as well.
Exactly. And the forced disappearance is definitely a very serious issue right here, as many of the cases like these have never been resolved. And from missing cases that haven't yet been solved to the one which did, we have some very, very good news here, as a missing child that went missing in Chiang Mai has been found after a massive search for 2.5 days. The missing 23-month-old child was found alone in a jungle cottage this morning, which is about a kilometer away from her village in Matang district of Chiang Mai province, after she reportedly went missing on Sunday night. A few reports from one of the search teams said that the child was alone in the cottage playing with a bottle of drinking water. Although the child is safe, she has been sent to Matang District Hospital for a checkup. The discovery is definitely a great relief for the family, officials, volunteers, and villagers involved in the search since Sunday night, when she was reported missing from her home, which is located in a valley surrounded by mountains and thick forest. And it is definitely a relief for members of the public as well, who have been monitoring the search operation for the past couple of days through the news.
Police got a break in the case when a detained suspect, who's a 45-year-old man from Myanmar, allegedly admitted under intense interrogation that he had abducted the child and took her to a cave about 3 kilometers from the village and left her there as a sacrifice to a deity in which he believes. He also told the police he didn't harm the child, and the suspect led police to the cave this morning, but there was no trace of the child, according to a police source, adding that the suspect was further questioned until he finally told the police the actual whereabouts of the missing girl. A search and rescue team rushed to the site, which was a cottage about a kilometer from the village, and found the child alone and safe. And this is indeed very good news, and we, of course, very happy for her parents as well. It's also quite fascinating, Kunat, that a lot of Thai media outlets are covering this case, because normally missing person cases don't really get coverage unless there are some unusual elements, like, for example, the case of missing grandma with Alzheimer's, also in the north as well, who ended up in China on her own a couple of years ago. That was also good news that she was found safe and sound. And of course, we can't not talk about the boys in the cave as well.
Exactly, Kunatai. And just like what you just said, many of the cases about missing people, they don't really get enough attention on the media, despite the fact that many of the authorities have been trying really hard to get people to become witnesses if they do find a missing person on the streets.
And not to mention like weird, dangerous criminal things like this being done in the name of superstition. And in this time of pandemic hardship, it's also really important to stay sane.
Exactly.
And with that, we wrap up this edition of Thai PBS World tonight. And don't forget to catch us like this every weekday at 7 p.m. And also don't forget to follow us on our social media and our website, www.thaipbsworld.com, for all the latest updates and in-depth analyses.
Thanks for watching. Stay safe and we'll see you tomorrow. สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ